Hey everybody, Rob Nelson here. I have a little tutorial that I'm going to walk you through how you might create a very simple animation if you have no background in animating so that you can do something that looks like this. In the ice, and when they pop up, you pounce on them. And if the ice cover wasn't high, then the prey would just pop up in the middle of a body of water and it'd be pretty hard for the polar bear to get food like this. The only real keys to doing this is that you need some sort of drawing program and then you're going to need some sort of image capture software. Let me just show you what I do. I'll walk you through from start to finish. And then also, the really important thing is that you're going to want some sort of drawing tablet so that you can, make things that don't look terrible. I have a bamboo from Wacom. Moving up one scale, I recently got myself this Wacom Cintiq. It's kind of pricey. It's like $2,000, whereas this is like $100 or something. Okay, so I'm just going to start. I'm going to show you a project that I'm working on and how I'm stepping through it. So you can see that the narration I have to work with is this. The use of alcohol is involved in about 1/3 of all recreational boating fatalities. Now the first thing that I do, I get myself a notebook and I sketch out what I think I want it to look like. Basically, I want to get each word in there one at a time. In this particular case, I wasn't too happy with the way this one turned out, so I drew another one. Really, all I want is I want to make sure that the words match up with what I'm drawing. So the first bit is the use of alcohol, so I want the alcohol to come up first. So that means this thing is got to be first, so I like to then give myself a note, 1. That's the first thing. And then the second thing would be the guy in the boat, so that's going to be 2. And then when I talk about recreational boating fatalities, I want to make it clear with the motion of the boat, 3, and 4, that somebody is in the water swimming and that is going to be really bad for them. So that's how I'm going to do things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's get to the programs and let's just walk you through the whole process. Okay, now the first thing that you got to do is you have to open up your screen capture software. And for me, I use Camtasia 2. Click. Up comes this screen, and then right here in the corner, I'm going to say Open Recorder, and I'm going to say Record. Now I've chosen full screen, and then it basically shrinks down and starts recording. I now go to my drawing program. In my case, I'm using Adobe Photoshop. Really, you can use anything, but I'd say most people use Photoshop, so this is going to be the easiest thing. Okay, we want to go up here and we want to open something new to work with. I like to use 2K as the size of my image, and the reason for that is that when you increase the size here, it actually fills the entire screen, and you're going to crop out all of this extra stuff, so you want to put it all the way over to the side. Next thing, give yourself a couple of extra layers. I like to start with 2 or 3, not too much, because what's going to happen is as you're drawing, you're going to want to fill in underneath and manipulate these. Draw the alcohol first. Now the nice thing with these stick figure drawings is they don't have to be perfect, Obviously, the better drawer you are, the more perfect they'll be. But the nice thing is they really don't have to be. Alright, so I got the alcohol drawn. We're on layer 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to layer 2, the one right under it, and I'm actually going to fill it in since alcohol bottles are, let me just give it like a green color. Like this. Okay, now we're on the underneath layer. So what I like to do is I like to just go all the way around, give myself an outline, and then I increase the brush size and I fill it in. Now to make it look a little bit nicer, what I usually do is I go in and I add just like, I basically pick one color darker, and then I go around and I kind of tint the whole thing. Okay, and I think I'm actually going to write the words alcohol on there just because I want it to match up with the video. Alright, now let me just speed this whole process up because you don't need to see everything that I'm drawing. Now at the end of this, we stop the recording, and in Camtasia, and I can't show you this because I have to stop the recording, you're going to crop out this middle bit. You're going to export that in Camtasia, and then you're going to bring it into an editing program. I use Final Cut, so I'm going to show you that right now. This is what it looks like. Here's your file. And we're going to want to match that up with the audio, so here's our audio. The use of alcohol is involved in about 1/3 of all recreational boating fatalities. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file and we're going to drop it in on top and time it up just perfectly. Now the problem is, look how big it is compared to the audio that I have. So what I need to do is I need to go Apple R, give myself the ability to change the speed, and I'm going to go, first thing I just say 8 times speed, and that usually brings it down for me, but you do whatever you need to time it up. Okay, so then I just bring it in about like that. Then I think the other thing I'll do is I'm going to put it on the main timeline so the magnetic toolbar works better. Okay, so it looks like this, right? Okay, I just want it to be the use of alcohol right here. Alcohol. As soon as I say alcohol, I want alcohol to show up. So what I do is I scroll in this main animation until alcohol pops up. And what I'm going to do is you click Option F and it creates a still frame, right? So right like that. So actually, when I do this, it more or less matches up now that I got alcohol in there.
Alcohol is involved in about a third of all recreational boating fatalities.
I want this last image to be on there quite a bit longer, so I add another still image right there. And voila! Oh, the still frame that I picked obviously had his eyes moving. Now notice the one thing I did here at the end that's really kind of something you have to be clever about. You see the eyes here of the boater? So as I move, I erased the eyes at the end and I had him looking right at the dude. You see that? And that just gives you action while you're drawing in Photoshop. You don't have to do any animating, and you just got to be really smart about that. Okay, yeah, so there you go. He looks poof right at the end, and that stays on there. And that's all there is to it. Now, I'm going to show you one fancy thing that I like to do that adds a little bit of a texture to the whole thing. So I take all of these and I say make a new compound clip. Say okay. Now there's a couple different things you can do. One different thing, I take in, say, let's just take in paper texture, and Final Cut has one of those kind of mixed in. So there's my paper texture, and just to make this the quickest and easiest, I'm going to duplicate this layer. As it's coming in, I want to just see the paper texture through, so with this on the top layer, I go over here to the compositing mode, and I want to just say multiply. So you see what happens there? All of a sudden, now the paper is composited in there, and it looks pretty cool. You can do, there's a couple different ways you can composite it, and I want to show you. The other one is color burn. Oh, that obviously didn't look very good. Linear burn, yeah. One thing, by the way, and I do this, I don't know how many people do this. I have a few that I really like to use. Multiply, color burn, linear burn, and then sometimes I'll use overlay. And sometimes I'll use screen. It depends what I'm doing. Obviously, when I have a white background and a white piece of paper, this doesn't work at all. The only ones that work are multiply and linear burn. And you can do trial and error to figure out what works for each of your different things. That's pretty much how this is going to end up looking. But I want to show you a couple other techniques that you can use and throw into your toolkit. Let's take all of this and now make a new compound clip. This is the great thing about compound clips in Final Cut. Now on this is my graphic. I can go in and add a couple effects. In particular, you could add a nice one to add in is aged film. So now it kind of looks like there's an old, it's an old film playing, right? Which is pretty cool. Now if you wanted to add any other effects, then all you got to do is you got to go over. Sometimes adding different effects, like I think heat wave is a nice little effect. It changes the colors a little bit. I also like teal and orange. Really, you just got to play with what you think works the best. But let me show you what the whole thing ended up looking like when it was mixed in. I did a couple other drawings. I'll just let this play for you guys. Here we go.
And coordination. Also, the use of alcohol is involved in about a third of all recreational boating fatalities.
So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because I'm putting out a whole bunch of tutorials on all sorts of different things that relate to filmmaking and all the films that we do. If you like this style and you want to see a couple other ones that I've done with it, here's a polar bear film, and these I'm just letting play because I think they're some of my favorites. There's a lot of advanced techniques that you can do. I will show you some of the jittery text techniques in a future video. And I think the most important thing to remember is that this is actually something that anybody can do. You can draw stick figures. You don't have to know really how to draw. As long as you have a couple of these programs, you can do animations. It's fantastic. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I love answering them and making sure that we can get more filmmakers out there telling good stories.